Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I am Crypto Vatsik. Before we get started, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like button. And if you find this content helpful, please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on new material. As always, this is not financial advice and these are my opinions only. Okay, let's go. Okay, so today I'm going to show you how you can trade a crypto asset in any direction. Sometimes people fall into a directional bias that is not working. They find themselves frustrated and just can't figure out how to jump into a position. I'm going to show you how to trade either direction, no matter if it's up or down, how to manage your risk, when you should jump in, when you should jump back out. It's really simple, and oftentimes it just can be difficult to navigate if you don't stick to a few set of rules. So with that said, let's just get started. This is Atom USD, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through a few different charting techniques of how I would have played this. And obviously hindsight's 2020, right? But we'll go back and we'll pretend that we're playing this in real time, and I'll show you my thought process around if you want to go long, when I would do that and what I would target, and vice versa. If you want to short, how I would have done that, and where I would want to get out of a position in a short position as well. So with that said, let's just get right into it. Okay, so first off, if none of these techniques are familiar to you, please do go back to my previous videos. I'll put a link in either the bio or on this video, and it'll teach you how to trade order blocks, how to trade ranges, sweeps, and so forth. So if something's not really clicking with you and you don't know how I found something, please do go back, watch those other videos. They're super helpful. And I go into more depth in each technique in those videos. So, for this one, I'm just going to stick to the analysis and just go through the short and long setups. Okay, so let's get started. So first off, I always just like to start off with a range, right? So back over here, when we made this low, we obviously created some sort of range. So just take it from the swing high, draw it out, come down to the swing low. So basically right here. Okay, so I had swing low and then swing high. That formed our range. Okay, I'm just treating these as deviations right now. Just taking that first swing high as our range, and to each their own. You can, it's all subjective, right? So you can do whatever you want with this, but I'm showing you, this is my thought process. I take that first swing high before we had that retest. Okay, so with that said, here's our range just to get us started. And this is really key because it's just right off the bat going to give us some SR levels that we can already identify, right? So we had this range in here where we started to break down and then broke below, bearish retest, and then obviously made new lows. But then as it came back up, whatever it was, a month later, it respected it. It respected the range low here as resistance, broke above, came up to the range high, came back down to the range low as support, right? So right off the bat, I'm already just seeing a bunch of interactions with this range. So it's nice to just have it on the screen for now, okay? Now the other range that we were clearly seeing off this move as well was this one right here, right? So we had this guy, this ascending channel, okay? So sorry, not a range. This is more of an ascending channel, and obviously had our low here and then just respected it all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. A couple deviations here that would have been really tricky if you were just using this ascending channel, but basically, yeah. So this was definitely being respected on the way up. So a nice market structure here. Now zooming in to where let's start off if you wanted to look for a long. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is what to look for when you're looking for a bullish order block. Okay, so order blocks are typically when a previous down in a bullish trend. Bullish order block is when a previous down candle gets invalidated and then there's a break in market structure. Okay, so we'll start right back here near the beginning, right off the low here. So what we saw was we had obviously in the micro lower time frame, we have a clear downtrend, right? Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So we're waiting to see when this is going to bottom out, right? So what was the trigger for that? So the trigger for me here was basically right when we saw this red candle invalidated by this green candle right beside it, okay? So basically the reason why it was invalidated is because the candle closed down here, this smashed up and closed actually above the top of the candle open, okay? The candle open, I'm not looking at the wick. And so this was then invalidated, and basically that's your order block, right? So it's at least your assumed order block for this at this moment, right? And so you just drag that out right here. And then next, what am I seeing? So on basically, this is a higher time frame on 12 hour. but basically you want to see a break in that market structure, right? So this down, up, down, up, down, up. When did we see a high, right? Where we broke that market structure. We saw it right here, okay? On that guy right there. So basically we saw a high, lower high, lower high. This was still a lower high, but then it gained momentum, broke that previous candle, made a higher high close, and then actually this wick came up here, and that on lower time frame, when you zoom in, that's actually now a higher high. Okay, so basically that's, let me just get rid of these. That's your break in market structure, right? So right here, okay, you've got this candle, broke above it, you break in market structure, which is a bearish market structure. We've got this green bullish order block here. And so now what would you see? What would you do if you saw this, right? So question is, now you saw this happen. You want to enter on a retest in this bullish order block, right? I've talked about retests many times in previous videos. And so go back and watch those if you want to learn more. But basically that's what I'd be looking for, right? Is this break in market structure, this bullish order block form, and a retest in there. So you'd want it, like your ideal sweet spot is right in here to go long, okay? And so what you'd be doing is you'd be setting your long. If you get in somewhere here, you'd be setting your stop loss just below the low, right? Or if you're risk management, a little less risk adverse, you could set it, maybe below this low here, really whatever you want, okay? And so then we'll talk about target here in a second. But just for me, I mean, if you're confident enough, I'd be at least wanting to go below the previous low where this bullish order block was invalidated. So basically right below the bullish order block is where my invalidation of this trade would be, would be hit right there at that point. Now there's a couple of different theories. You could take this for a long target, right? So one would just be basically just looking at this ascending channel, right? So basically I'd just be looking, okay, so we got an ascending channel here forming, and at the time, you wouldn't have known, you obviously didn't have all this price action before, so it's a little bit more difficult. So you could have said, okay, if you had drawn it from here to here kind of thing, then you could have said, target at least the EQ or the range high. I just think that at this point in time, without this price action to the right, you wouldn't have been able to identify as easily. So basically I'd be looking left, right? So I'd be looking over here, where did we break down from this previous bearish consolidation, right? Just when we broke down below this previous range, that's why I draw it out. That would basically be my ultimate target. You could say either a sweep of this high or a sweep of one of these highs, right? So basically a sweep just meaning that you come up and you kind of sweep that supply, right? The supply area, because this is a bearish order block, right? That's where supply is, and then demand is down below. So you want a sweep of this, excuse me, bug just flew in my face. You want a sweep of this area, and what happened? Well, right there, boom, we got it, right? So you'd want to have some sort of basically area where you'd be targeting, you'd be, maybe DCAing your cells and saying, okay, this is our bearish order block, right? Because again, over here, without going into it too much, this is our up candle before getting invalidated and coming down, breaking down. But really, this was just the range low, the previous range here. Okay, so that would be kind of your first target. I'd be, that would be my target if you're making this trade. If you think it's going to go longer, then I would just be looking at the other highs, the other previous highs, right? So basically this area and this area, right? So I'd be looking for sweeps of these. And you could have just played this all the way up. You could have just found the order block where it got invalidated, bought the retest, and then targeted the sweeps of these highs, targeted these previous highs. And basically almost every time it swept up, and you had many chances in this zone to sell and unload your position, right? So the same thing here. You had bullish order block right here, candle invalidated, retest, huge retest on this wick actually, but with candle closes, retest, that's your sweet spot. And then target these have been swept already at this point, right? So you target the next highs, previous highs, right? Up there. Okay. So that's how I would have played it. These work for me, to each your own, but if it's, if you want to learn more about how this works, order blocks, or just SR levels, please go back to my previous videos. I think you'll find some value for sure there. And then a longer term, I mean, not everyone knew that we were going to have such a massive pump on Atom or the market shift in general, but clearly market is shifting now at this point. It's getting really exciting. But, if we were sitting here and, I started to take a long and we'd swept all of these highs here, there's just not much to play around in. I mean, you could have maybe looked at this candle here and said, okay, maybe target 1 would be there, kind of thing. And then target 2, really, you just have to look at like the next obvious spot, right? And so for me, it just would have been this area right here where we broke down from, right from this low. And then we basically broke down here, bearish retest, and then dropped and free fall, right? But then you look over here and it was a nice wick up to that area, again, draw a zone and a beautiful wick up into this supply over here that we had on May 20 or May 3rd kind of area. So that's how I'd play the targets. And the reason why I don't love, the reason why I like order blocks is because it gets away from having to use trend lines. And for me, just trend lines oftentimes just get invalidated so many times in crypto. It's just such a difficult market to trade. There's so many fake outs and it's just super unpredictable. So if you used a trend line, you said, I'm just going to enter in the trend line, this wick probably would have stopped you out. Same thing in here, this wick would have stopped you out. And then up here, huge invalidation below this trend line. And then again, right? And you're now it's not even a trend. Now you're just going, what the heck? It's just all over the place. This line's totally invalidated. What the hell's going on? And then next thing you know, you've missed out on a huge move. So that's why I like to stick to levels and have zones, so there's room for flexibility, there's room for fluctuation, but essentially that's how I would have played this up, and then how I would have targeted it if I was to look to go long. Now, again, any direction. So let's say we're going to play this short. I'm not going to change anything too drastically. Basically, what I just showed you, just flip it inverse. So if your target is going to be a sweep of these previous highs, right, to sell your long, then where are you going to want to short, right? So it's the same exact thing. So let's just do it again super quickly. Parallel channel here from the swing high to swing low. Okay. You could use these as SRs. You could target the top of the range, right? And say, okay, if I'm gonna want to go short here and I think this is coming down, I'm gonna want to see a sweep of one of these highs. So let's just zoom in here and let's just say, okay, so let's go right off the bat here. We'll just go, because if you think it's coming down further at this point, you probably think, you're wrong and then it's actually going up. So let's zoom in here if you're thinking, okay, we're coming down here. And so if you thought that we're, again, on higher time frame, 12 hour, you'd be, say we're playing around in here somewhere, okay? So you'd want to say, okay, obviously we've got, first of all, a break in market structure here, right? So we were coming down, 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 massive break, retest, came back up, consolidated, and now broke through. So this area is definitely a significant area. And so if you're saying, okay, I'm looking for a short here, now look left. So, right? So basically this area where we broke down, I want a sweep of that level. Okay, so we come up and then all of a sudden we're in your area. Okay, we're in the bearish, well, I'll get to that. Bearish, this is a bearish level. That is resistance that was previously support. However, where's your bearish order block in here? Okay, so it's right here, this candle. Okay, so basically we had the candle invalidated here. Okay, so this was invalidated, came down. Okay, and I want to wait for that retest of the bearish order block, right? So we come in here, right? We come down, we come back up. We have this bearish retest within this order block level and then come down. Okay, so that's what I'd be looking for if I was going to look to short. And I just say this is a sweep of the previous level and this was your target for a long. And so you wait for the invalidation, you wait for the retest of that bearish order block. Sorry, one sec. And there you go. There's your entry on the retest right in here, this green candle, the wick up, right? Because you got a break in market structure, a retest of that bearish order block, clearly right here, a sweep of this previous breakdown over here, that previous level, okay? And that's your target to go, and then, that's your target to jump in And then basically you'd be targeting down here, and vice versa, same what I showed you before, sweep these lows as your target. So anyways, that's it. Thanks for joining, guys. See you in the next one.